Guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to talk about my September TBR. I apologize about the location and the video quality of this video, not that my other videos are anything to shout about anyway, but this video in particular I'm going to have to shoot here right now because there's just stuff going around my apartment right now, so I hope you can bear with me when it comes to that. But it's all about the books, so today we are going to be talking about my September TBR. It's been over a year since I posted a TBR on here. My last TBR was for September of last year, so I'm really excited to finally be posting another TBR on here. I did read some of the books that were on that other TBR, but I'll be talking more about those books that I did read when I post my 2023 wrap up because, spoiler alert, I didn't read any of those books in September of last year. Anyway, though, let's get right into the books that I plan on reading this month. Now, I know September is halfway over at this point, but honestly, this TBR isn't too ambitious at all, and I really do think that I can finish it in what's left of the month. So far for this TBR, I have 3 physical books that I will be reading and 1 audiobook that I'm going to be listening to, so I'll tell you about those. But then I'm also going to be adding 1 other, possibly 3 other physical books to the 4 titles that I already have on my TBR on this month. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm going to explain. So in my last video that I posted, the winter wrap up that I filmed back in March, but only just posted within the past day or so, depending on when this video that I'm filming right now is going to go up. I mentioned in passing a project that I'm working on, or attempting to get through, I should say, which is getting through the books that I already own but haven't read yet. A majority of the TBRs and rating that you've seen on my channel are books that I take out of my library because they're new releases, or maybe not even new releases, but books that I borrow because I just hear about them and they sound interesting to me, or sometimes they're books that I buy and read right away. I do, however, like a lot of us, have quite a few books that are just sitting around my apartment waiting to be read and have been waiting to be read for a very long time, and some of them aren't even mine and are just taking up space, so I would just like to go ahead and get them read. So going forward, I'm going to be reading at least 1 book a month that I already own in an attempt to get that stack of unread books down. There are 21 books in all that I would like to get through, and maybe some months, if I feel like it, I might even do more than 1 book per TBR. Who knows? We have winter coming up here in a few months, and getting to the library might be a little bit more of a hassle, so this project may even get done sooner than I'm anticipating, but even if not, at least 1 book will be getting read a month that I already own. And to make it a little bit more fun, I am going to go about choosing said already owned books or book by means of spinning a wheel and having it choose the book for me. So I'm pretty excited about that. This month it's actually going to be 2 books that I'm going to be reading that I already own, because as you'll see in the 3 physical books that I'm going to show you, 1 book is one that I already own, but we are going to be choosing the second book by means of the wheel. Now, earlier I mentioned there may be a chance that I would be reading 3 more books than what my original goal is, and that's because I do have 1 selection on the wheel that is a 3-book series, and if I do land on that, I'm going to be reading all 3 books consecutively because there's too much of a chance that I'm going to forget everything that happens, and I don't want that. The first book in said series I've already read once 2 years ago, and I already forgot a lot of what happened in it, so don't want to do that again. I hope I explained that okay without being too confusing, but you're about to see what I mean because we are going to go ahead and dive into everything right now. First up, I'll tell you about the audiobook that I'm going to be listening to, and it's The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. I can't remember if I actually posted a TBR with this book in it yet, but it's been on my list for a while, and I actually read the prologue a little bit earlier in this year, as well as the first chapter, I believe it was, but I stopped, not because I didn't like the book, but because laziness, honestly. So I figured rather than take out the physical book again because there is a huge wait list for it, I might as well listen to the audiobook I do have the ability to do that at work and while on walks and stuff like that. So I figured I'd go ahead and just listen to it, even though the hold for the audiobook was pretty long as well. I've actually been waiting for it since the beginning of summer, but I finally have access to it now on my Libby app. So I'm excited to see what I think about it because I read The Villa by this author last year and I really enjoyed it for the most part. I actually read it all in one night. So this particular book, The Heiress, is about a man named Cam who is estranged from his family but ends up returning to the family home when his mom passes away and leaves him an inheritance. When Cam goes back, a lot of questions and family secrets come into light, and even what exactly the inheritance is comes into question. So now we're going to move on to the first physical book that I have on my TBR, and this is a book that I actually own. This wasn't picked out by the wheel. We'll do that together in a little bit. This book that I'm going to talk about is a book that I wanted to pick up by myself. The book that I'm talking about is For Lacey by Sharon Rocha. I read a lot of this book a few years ago, but never finished. And after having watched the recent Netflix special on the case and with Scott Peterson being back in the headlines recently, I decided to pick it up again. For those of you who don't know, Lacey Peterson, who was pregnant at the time with her unborn son Connor, went missing back in 2002 around Christmas time, and Lacey's husband Scott was later convicted for the murders. He is currently serving a life sentence, even though he's tried numerous times to have this overturned and is still trying to this day. This case is one of the cases that I will truly never forget about because it happened when I was in middle school. And this was during a time when you didn't always have the internet at your fingertips via phone. And if you were like me, your internet time in general was scarce, if even at all. And around this time, honestly, I'm not even 100% positive I even had access to the internet yet. So the only news that I got was what I saw on TV, and you could not turn on a single news station or news program without seeing something about this case. It was everywhere. Whenever I'm digesting any sort of content about cases like this, that's the part that I'm always the most interested in. I remember even while all this was happening on the news programs that I watched, there was rarely much said about who Lacey was as a person. You could tell from her pictures and video clips that she was happy and bubbly, but what I'm looking forward to with rereading the first part of this book and finally completing it is that inside look to everything from Sharon's own words. Next book we have is the Kamogawa Food Detectives, and I do not want to butcher the author's beautiful name, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it, but you can see it here on this adorable cover, and this is him right here. This is a book in translation that is apparently the first in a series about a father-daughter duo who are food detectives, which I'm very excited to see more about what that is. And this book has been on my list since the beginning of the year, so I'm very excited to finally get to it. I'm hoping to continue a project here where I read mystery books that are involving food or taking place in food stores. I have already started that earlier this year, and I'll probably get more into that in future videos. But the point is, if I do happen to like this book will definitely be counted towards that project. Alrighty, guys, here we go. I honestly wasn't sure if this day would ever come, but I wanted to go ahead and officially announce that on this TBR, we have my first ever Brandon Sanderson book. I honestly had no idea who this author was before I started watching YouTube, but I feel like I've heard his name everywhere and wasn't sure if I was going to pick up a book by him. But as soon as I heard about this series, I decided to give it a try because it sounded interesting to me. And as soon as I saw the cover, I wanted to read it. And the book that I'm choosing to read is Tress of the Emerald Sea. This book is part of his Cosmere universe, which I have heard about, but honestly have no idea what it's all about. I did read this book was a standalone novel, and while doing research on the book, I saw that Brandon himself said that these books are a good place to start with his book. And when I say these books, I mean that this book is the first in a book series that is called the Secret Project series, I believe, which is apparently the product of a Kickstarter. So who knows, maybe this will be the gateway into more Brandon Sanderson for me. I normally don't like to summarize books by reading the flap, but I can't really derive too much from this flap for some reason. Maybe I'm just tired, but it's a short summary, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. The only life Tress has known on her island home is an emerald green ocean that has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes him on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates abound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death? So, yeah, that sounds interesting. But as I mentioned earlier, this is pretty much also a cover read. Can we just appreciate the beautiful end papers and the drawings? Like, look at that. So gorgeous. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. So here's to hopefully loving my first Brandon Sanderson novel. Alrighty, so now for the moment that I've honestly been waiting for, we are going to go ahead and give the wheel a spin to see which book or books, if I land on a series from my inventory, I am going to be reading this month. So let's see. Awesome, perfect score. I have been waiting to read this book for so long, so let me go and grab that one. I could not be more excited that the first book that I landed on for this project of reading my own inventory is The Perfect Score by A.M. Ellis. I had this book once before in a TBR, I believe from last February, as in February of 2023. So I'm so excited to finally get to this book. For those of you who don't know what Hunt a Killer is, it is a game box subscription that you receive in the mail, and you can either do it by yourself or work with someone else to solve cases based on the clues that are given. This is not sponsored by Hunt a Killer, by the way, but I have always wanted Hunt a Killer, and I haven't actually been able to get it, unfortunately. So in the meantime, I figured I would try the novels. I didn't realize there was actually a series of books affiliated with Hunter Killer, but once I found that out, I knew I had to have them. This book is about a girl whose favorite guidance counselor gets run over by a train, and while everyone else is thinking that this was a suicide. The main character in the book is convinced it was a murder, so the book is about her trying to find out exactly how that happened and to prove it to everyone else. What I really love about this book is that it's an epistolary novel, and those are my favorite novels to read. Very interactive, which would make sense since Hunter Killer is a game subscription box, but I'll show you what I mean. There's pictures and stuff in it, and text messages that you can read. Hopefully, I'm not giving away any spoilers by flashing these, but yeah, here's better examples of text messages. So, yeah, very excited about reading this book. And again, I couldn't be happier that this is my first pick of the wheel. So here we go. These are the books that I am going to be reading this month and hopefully enjoying. I am so excited to get started on the stack again. I know it's mid-September, but I am very confident that I will be able to make it through these books, particularly because I am so excited about them. Plus the one audiobook that we discussed earlier. So 5 books, not too ambitious. I really do think that it's doable. So yeah, let me know below what you guys are working on reading this month because I would really love to hear it. Thank you guys so much who have stuck with me on this channel and watched my videos. I know I tend to randomly pop up and disappear depending on my motivation level, but I honestly really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.